today about LinkedIn. And I have Tony and Amy who are going to do a phenomenal job at kind of diving into more about LinkedIn, so some tips and tricks. And they are from with Homecare and Homebase. And we're super excited. So Tony and Amy, I'm going to pass it back over to you all. So thank you for joining us.
Wonderful. Thank you. And we're excited to be here. And just a little bit of background. I've been working with companies actually all around the world for a few years now, and actually helped, gosh, it's approaching 3,000 people now get to where they want to go. And Amy and I have been working together for a while now. And so we'll be tag teaming through this presentation. I'll go ahead and start, and she's going to be monitoring the chat, and then she'll pick up and clean up for all the places. She's got a wealth of experience inside Homecare, Homebase, and we are a technology company. But we'll talk more about that here in just a bit. So excited to be here. So with that, this is going to be a very interactive. So I'm going to stop and pause from time to time just to ask questions, or if you have any questions, feel free to jump in at any point. So I see you've got quite a few people out there now. So before we kind of go into this, love to hear some other voices besides my own of why LinkedIn. Who has some comments out there?
They want to join in, you're here. Yeah, it's like why LinkedIn. So whatever feedback you want to have.
Can I just talk?
Yeah, Tony, let us know if you can hear the volume in the room. I have an awesome student here. She wants to talk, so let us know if it's too low or not. We're trying to gauge that. So go ahead, yeah, you could just talk.
Okay, thank you. So I am interested in developing my profile on LinkedIn because I am interested in reaching out to recruiters from, I would say, corporate positions. There are several highly coveted internships that I'm interested in pursuing. And in order to be competitive with students applying from SMU and UT Dallas, I want to bring some UT Dallas representation and show that I'm just as capable as these other students from institutions that have been around much longer than mine.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Who else? I know we have some shy folks there online that are. If not, we can go ahead and so if you look at the different areas, and as you mentioned there, it's how do we connect out to folks, and it's about our career development. What's the next steps that we want to take? And we can use LinkedIn in so many different ways, from that professional networking to help us. Sometimes we don't know what it is the next step looks like, or what's it like to be inside of a certain company, to use LinkedIn as our own personal branding, and even connecting with social groups. I've been with LinkedIn for quite a few years now, but there's 67 million people who use LinkedIn every month. There's about 800 million members. Now I know that's lower than Instagram or Meta. It's actually about the same as TikTok. But this platform is focused exclusively on you and your career, and so it's a great place to carry forward throughout your career. So no surprises there. And if you haven't yet, you'll see this presentation afterwards. You can go out there and sign up. But what we're going to talk about is, what are the basics? After this class, Arthur, and it may come from somebody else, but I believe Arthur will be sending it out, a great 4-page summary of all the different bullet points. There's so much more in there than we'll cover today. What we're going to cover really is, what are the things that we look for as recruiters? We get hundreds of applications on a regular basis for all of our positions. Like right now, we have around 100 positions open. And so normally then that means we get thousands of applications and resumes. One of the first things we do is go out and look at LinkedIn and just check out that profile. So Here's some of the things that that we look for. So like in this case here, Amanda is with us. She works on the customer experience team. And it's important to have a photo out there, a photo that is fun and genuine to you, but still professional, because this is not a Meta or any of the other platforms. This is your professional face forward, but it doesn't mean that it has to be dry and then any kind of professional attire. You know, you can have a fun, but a photo that's good quality that fits in there. And you'll see in the case of Amanda here, she also has a very clear title of either what she is doing, or in many cases, what it is that you're looking to do. Okay, so you can have something that's a little more like this one. So in this case, Landon, he still has that photo, but if you notice, he actually changed his background. Something that we highly recommend, something that again is professional, maybe it speaks to you, or something that is your vision, your mission, your values, that really kind of makes you stand out from the others out there. If you go back to this one here, you'll see that that background. That's kind of your standard LinkedIn background, and it's not a bad background. But if you have something that really speaks to you, that will make you stand out, that makes all the difference. It says something to the recruiter and to hiring manager about your commitment to the profession. And if you notice, Landon here also has a more generic title that really is carrying him throughout wherever he wants to go, about a talent development professional. And so if you are in a position where you're looking for a new position or things like that, you can actually put that in that section as well. So I want to pause there for just a moment before we kind of move into some of the other sections and see what questions or comments that we may have out there.
Well, I have one that I normally see for my students, because the background photo gets so hard, like which one do I pick? Is there one that's better? So like, for instance, the example, we have grow, perform, and succeed. And so is it kind of good just to kind of have a stock photo? What, like, from your experience, different fields, does a photo really play a part? So it's always just those questions I get a lot from my students, like, is it important? If it, what should it be there? Some examples, etc.
Yeah, it's a great question, because there's a lot of conversation around implicit biases or conversations around that. Will a photo hurt my chances? I will say, from working with hundreds and hundreds of recruiters, that more often than not, if there's not a photo there, it actually creates more doubt than having a photo there, and the risk of maybe an implicit bias going on there. LinkedIn actually even has data that shows that, I can't remember the percentages, but it's a much higher percentage of people who will actually click on the profile if there's actually a photo and showing some engagement there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, great question. The other thing I wanted to point out on here, which is kind of the segue to the next section, is we talked about the background, something professional that really speak to you, that's genuine. This is your chance to be creative here. Again, professional, but be you. And same with the picture, the title. If you notice here, connections as well. We're going to talk about what that really means here in just a moment, from the standpoint of a recruiter. One of the most important things that you can do on LinkedIn is to make sure that your sections are complete, because a profile that is not complete really doesn't get the exposure, just like any kind of social media out there. If it's not complete, it really won't show up in many of the searches and different things like that as well. So make sure to take some time for that personalized summary. And that really is your elevator speech, your 30-second summary of kind of what makes you. And again, what makes you is very unique and special. So be genuine, be professional again, but don't worry about trying to say, well, I've got X number of years and things like that. You may put that in there if you want. But really, what is your value proposition is something that we say on the inside. What is the thing that you're going to say to make somebody go, wow, that is really cool. I'd love to talk with that person more. Okay, so make sure you have that in there, your education, any work history that you have, and really, especially in the early part of your career, don't worry about what that work history may look like. That maybe I didn't get the internship that I wanted or the co-op that I wanted. That's okay, because the work history all again fits into what makes you you. We'll talk about references and really giving as well as getting references, any kind of volunteer. There's a section now on LinkedIn that gives you a chance to upload any work samples. If you're like, say, a graphic designer, you can put your portfolio up there or anything along that line as well. So now's a good place to pause. I see we've got a question that came in the chat. I don't know if that's something.
Yeah, Tony, the question comes from Jacqueline. She says, what if you do not have a work history? How could you make your profile a little bit more competitive at that time?
Yeah, very nice. So in those cases, I will say it depends. Okay. The good and the bad that happens out there is some recruiters are very overloaded, and so they're going to spend very little time. I'm sure each of you have been shown the study that shows that on average recruiters will look at a resume 6 seconds. LinkedIn, we tend to spend a little bit more time. Fortunately, in our organization, we really care about really the stories behind that. So we do spend a lot more time. So in those cases, we know in each of your programs, there are special projects that you needed to do where you got together with others that demonstrated your ability to collaborate or do long-term planning. Maybe you did a capstone project. Those are the types of things that that you can then put in there to show that you have the same things that maybe you didn't get from a work history, but that's valuable for the company. What would you add there, Amy?
I think that's great. I think in some of these other pre-described sections that a LinkedIn profile can have, you can really showcase a lot of those competencies and these skills that you've been gaining throughout your coursework. So whether that is courses or projects, or as we have up here on the slide, volunteerism, or even true education, and you describe some of the classes that you're enrolled in or that you've completed. All of those bring wonderful experiences that speak to what you could then bring to a potential position. But also remember, this is not just a way to be picked out of the crowd by a recruiter. This is also your own personal brand there online. And so show what you can do or who you are, as we've been saying. So just add in as much information as you find relevant to your professional brand.
I love how you said that, Amy. One of the things you'll find if you ask 10 people to review your profile to say, hey, can you give me some feedback? You're going to get probably 10 different views, and some of it very conflicting. There's a lot of, subjectivity and personal taste and all of those differences in there. So it really is what speaks to you. What do you want to be known as? So like in my case, it was about being practical application. I love doing research, but it's not research for research sakes, but it really is, what's the so what? Why is that important? So I would kind of use that as put my personal brand together. One of the other questions that I know that sometimes comes up is how long, how much detail, and really what to me is a good indicator, I'm going to toss that over to you too as well, Amy, is it's about engaging the reader, but also leaving some questions that they want to reach out to you, say, hey, wait a minute, what about this? What about that? So it's always that balance of not overwhelming the reader by putting a lot of stuff in there, because if it's too long, too much, it can get overwhelming. And at the same time, you want enough of the keywords, what's important in that job, and what it is you're looking for, and making sure those things are highlighted. Amy, what would you say there as far as length and completeness, if you will?
Yeah, I would definitely encourage bullet points over paragraphs. So if you are describing in your own personalized summary sometimes, or even about any work histories or work samples or anything else that you add in, bullet points are very concise. They're meant to be just quick one line, just quick hits almost. You can think of it that way. And that's what's going to draw someone's eye in, but also give them that little taste, as Tony's talking about, but then they're going to want to dive deeper. And so that's where you may find people are reaching out to connect with you to learn more, or recruiters could be reaching out to you to learn more about you for specific openings that they might have. It's all about showcasing yourself online, but leaving a little bit to still bring in that personal touch with other individuals in the industries.
Wonderful. Did we have a new question pop up there before I move on?
No, it doesn't look like it.
Okay, gotcha. Good. All right. So now, just like any other sites, it's really, there we go. I was stuck there. It's really important to keep it updated, maintain it, engage. So the more the more activity that you have on there, as far as following groups and even putting posts out there, sharing other people's posts, liking and commenting, the more likely you're going to show up in other people's feeds and show up in searches and things such as that. The other part is connecting with friends, colleagues, classmates, recruiters. I can tell you, many of the recruiters that we get to work with, we love helping out people. So it's not always just about, do we have a job or position at our company? I've been around in so many companies, and I've got my own personal database of 7,000 people. And so there's lots of folks that I can connect. And my heart really is helping people get to where they want to go. And the great recruiters, that's what it's all about. This is not just a job for us. This is truly making those connections. So feel free to reach out and connect with, if you see somebody as a recruiter in your space, because a lot of us will start to specialize, whether it's a technology recruiter or healthcare recruiter or executive recruiter and things like that. So the important part there is stay active. One of the things, before I go there, that I know LinkedIn's trying to help with, but there are a lot of fake profiles out there. I don't know how that works and why that's even important, but we can pick those out pretty quickly. And part of it is that there's no activity. The person is just not doing and engaging and things like that. So you don't want to get caught up in a profile that we say, gosh, I don't know if that's really even a live person, just a bot out there. So places you can go inside of LinkedIn, there are groups, and these groups are incredibly helpful. So of course, the University of North Texas, Dallas Career Services groups, whether you're in a sorority or fraternity, there's lots of different industry groups, specialty groups, data science groups, there's DevOps groups and HR specialists in sales, and professional associations such as SHRM for the HR folks, and other interests. Connect with those groups and people that are in there, because one of the things we'll take a peek at as well is down at the bottom is going to show the groups that you're involved in. the more difficult and challenging the roles, we really want to see that this is something the person's invested in and they're really engaged in it. We can tell that by the groups that are out there. So let me pause there before we kind of move on and see what other questions or comments that we have.
Nothing's coming from the chat, Tony, but I did also want to add to this. By joining groups or reaching out to different people or other interests on LinkedIn, this becomes a place where you can learn even more. You can continue to develop yourself. So not just acting with LinkedIn like it's a job board necessarily or a way to display yourself like an online resume, but it's also such a great tool for you to be able to search for things that interest you, that grow you, that will teach you new things. You know, one of the things we haven't yet discussed really is that there are tons of different classes and content that you can sign up to engage in or complete these different classes, get certifications, show that you have completed these certain things to really showcase certain skills that you have. And joining groups is going to be one more way that you can engage in more content and learn more from other people. So don't necessarily just do these things to show it on your profile, but really do it with that full-heartedness of wanting to learn more and engage with all of these related groups or interests or basically everything out there that's under the sun. You can search for it on LinkedIn and really start to get involved, no matter how big or small those interests might be.
That's a great point. I don't think I had that anywhere in here, but really the assessment, LinkedIn has lots of assessments and tests and things that you can take, and it's always popping things up for me saying, hey, what about taking this or what about taking that? Those we do notice, especially when it comes into the technology side, but anything again to show, like Amy said, what is your interest and engagement in whatever industry that you're interested in. Okay. So now connections. Just like it says, it's really easier than you think. You'll notice I pointed up above that landed had 500 plus connections. LinkedIn will allow you to get up to 30,000. And you might go, oh my gosh, that's a lot of connections. And it's not about a numbers game. And it really is building a network of people that not only will be able to potentially help you, but that you can help as well. Because again, this is just like anything else. The more that you're engaged in helping others, that comes back around as well. So I actually like to set a goal, and I've done that for years, and that's how I've gotten to 7,000. And that is just reach out to 10, 15, 20 people every week. Just set a little time aside. If you can't do it this week, that's okay. Just make sure you're doing it most every week of just reaching out, making connections. LinkedIn will make suggestions, and actually the more and more that you connect, the more suggestions you're going to get. You can add friends, families, colleagues, your professors, classmates. As I mentioned, if you see recruiters out there, feel free just to reach out and send them a connection. Again, it's the quality of the contact. This is not a numbers game necessarily. It's nice to have the numbers, but not at the expense of quality. You'll see here, you'll get a lot more responses if you actually get personal with your message. And so you met somebody in a class, and so you want to connect with them. Or somebody else mentioned somebody, and so you want to make a connection there, like Chris Starr mentioned that we should get in touch. Or maybe you're looking to learn more, as Amy mentioned. Again, there's lots of people out here who love giving back. And so just say, hey, I'm a student and I'm just graduating, or I'm doing a special project, whatever it may be. Just lay that out there, and as part of the invitation. So I wanted to stop there. I know, Amy, you probably have more to add, or any other questions? Nope. Okay. So with that, this is something, again, that's a little personal. After you kind of make those connections and make some conversation, feel free to switch that over to email, and because there you can get a little more detailed and start sharing a bit more as well. Again, that's a personal choice. As Amy mentioned earlier, this becomes a very powerful tool for learning and job searching. We're going to talk a bit about each of those sections there in just a minute, but you'll see a link in here. It actually brings you to a list of what they call the job seeker webinars, and to just kind of listen to that. LinkedIn has a LinkedIn learning section, and you can do something in that section as well. Something very, very, very important is, if you find a job that you're interested in, do a search to find out if any of your connections are actually in that company, or even if not, reach out to some people in the company and just say, hey, I'm interested. I'd love to talk with you. What's the culture like there, and what kind of job? What's the industry look like? And reach out to folks. But if you when you do get those interviews, take some time to research that employer. Go out there on their page, go out on the website. We have things on both sides, but one thing that I know that most of us will listen for is, what have you done to look at us, to show your interest about us? Because if you haven't shown any interest in the company, it's really hard for the recruiter to show interest in you. So I know you're really busy, but that's a really, really quick thing that you can do. Amy, what would you add there?
As you're searching for jobs, there's, definitely the typical job board capability. You can search for any type of skill or function or anything like that from a very high level search on LinkedIn, and then you can really start drilling down a little bit more. And there are ways where you can even apply to these jobs directly on LinkedIn, or maybe you could be taken to that company's careers web page or their company page. And that's going to be a great place to pause. And like Tony said, do a little research on the company, find out what's really happening with them, any updates or news that they have going on before you actually submit that application. But after you submit that application, try to even go out and see maybe who a recruiter is there, or someone who is on the team of that job that you've just applied for. You can connect with them on LinkedIn and say, hey, I just applied for one of your open positions. I found it here on LinkedIn and I'm really interested. And then start that conversation in the ways that Tony just outlined. If you are going to be able to notice a job and use that terminology when you could be interacting with someone through messages on LinkedIn for this professional instance, that's really going to spark something in that person to say, hey, they are clearly interested. They've done a little research already. I want to talk to them. So that's one way to kind of get that interview or get that connection in the first place. But anything else that you're looking for on LinkedIn outside of jobs too, again, it's a pretty quick and simple search from a very high level. If you're searching for people or groups or companies where you can start following them, and then right there in your main feed on LinkedIn, kind of like a Facebook feed, it's updated pretty much every time that you would refresh your page. Whoever or whatever company you might be following, if they're posting something, it's going to show up for you. So all you would have to do is even just log into LinkedIn, and then you'll start seeing some of these things that will help you research the company. But it's really just being put in front of your face, which is nice.
Very nice. And I love how you say reach out to the recruiters or other folks inside the company. Jacqueline, you had asked what could be that differentiator, I can tell you that is a huge differentiator. Even though we're out there front and center, if anybody does a search, if you're looking for a job and you run across something at the Homecare Homebase website and you apply, you can just go over to LinkedIn, you can find us, but very, very, very few people actually reach out and connect with us. That's your differentiator, because we don't mind. And if a recruiter does mind, well, maybe that's not the company or culture you want to be with. And so that's how you can stand out. And that is, just like Amy said, connect with us and say, hey, I just applied for this position. I'd love to talk with you to learn a little bit more. Okay. So as we're getting close to the bottom here, so some of the things to kind of remember, and there is a really nice summary coming, like I mentioned. Arthur will be sending that on out, but important to make sure your profile is 100% complete. And as Amy pointed out, there's lots of different sections, and maybe they're not as full as you kind of see at others, but that's okay. You're early in your career, and that's to be expected. And continually look to make new contacts, reach out, keep your page active and fresh. You've got a lot of alumni that came from UNT. We have 25 of them UNT graduates here at Homecare Homebase alone. So, reach out to them, because they're all over the world. I was actually impressed, Amy. I didn't realize one of the UNT graduates is actually up in Louisville. So I was like, wow, how'd that happen? Our headquarters is actually in Louisville, Kentucky, and here in Dallas. So that's how I was noticing that. And as you get more and more comfortable, feel free to put those posts out there and to write articles, or really to show what is your expertise and really what's your heart. Don't worry too much about, how it comes across. Obviously, as long as you're being professional and you're really kind of showcasing what's important to you, that's okay. And as Amy mentioned, you'll see a little job section up there. And just continue to look for that. But most importantly, many jobs, even in this day and age, are not posted out there. And the best way to find those is to reach out to people within the company, because there are many opportunities that you may not ever see unless somebody actually introduces you to them. What else, Amy? What other questions do we have out there?
Looks like Bailey shared a link with all of us, so please do go up and check on that. Bailey, what's that link for?
It is for a survey. So all the students that attended today, make sure y'all give us some feedback. Let us know what y'all thought of the presentation. And that way we can keep track of everything.
Right.
And that's through Qualtrics, which is another great company. So,
Very
okay.
good.
I know there's got to be some questions, or even if there's something specific to your profile, don't be afraid to ask. We've got a few more things to cover, but just want to make sure to, did I hear a voice out there?
Yes, so I have a question I get a lot when I meet with students. So at the very, like our header lines that are on your LinkedIn, so either where you have your current role, or some people put kind of like adjectives to describe what they're currently doing, or focus points. Do you have any suggestions for students kind of trying to enter into a field or recently graduating that will be a good header for their LinkedIn?
Yeah, absolutely. We on a regular basis will see out there looking for a data scientist position, or interested in mobile DevOps or anything like that. You can put that as your title, because that makes it really clear and easier to find. We tend to look for keywords when we go out there to our LinkedIn search tool. And so anything that's related to that job would be great in there as well. But yeah, just say what it is that you're looking for. It helps us out a lot.
What I will add to that, because I see this many times when I could be searching on candidate or job seeker profiles. Since I'm mostly recruiting for many entry level and early talent, early career type of opportunities, it really, it is a great thing when somebody has listed in their top header line of their profile, recent graduate looking for certain type of skill, or graduated from UNT Dallas this semester and ready for this next challenge, whatever it may be. And then also detailing a little bit more about perhaps what you hope to do in a job, maybe some of those certain skills that you're looking to use, whether that's some sales or technology or, you know, really anything else. Putting that into your header line is always really helpful because it comes up very quickly, and so someone can pick that out. Also, another thing that I would suggest, if you might be looking specifically for a remote position or a certain geographic location, if you are willing to relocate or if you are planning to relocate or anything like that, that's something that's kind of helpful to add into that header, because again, that's just going to call out to those right types of companies or recruiters or other connections. And it's, you know, one fewer thing that someone needs to ask you about if it's already posted right there.
Wonderful. And you know, Amy, I didn't even mention on the profile section to just make sure that you have it marked as open to new opportunities. It doesn't show up per se on your profile, but when we're doing searches, it will definitely show up. So you want to make sure that that's marked. And also don't be afraid to use a frame that says you're open to that new job, the little green frame, and look for the purple frame for the places that are hiring as well. Some folks I know in years past would get nervous about saying, well, if I'm in between jobs, I'm looking for jobs, will they not think highly of me? Yeah, it's possible in some cases, but in many cases, when we're really looking for the who and not just the what, those are the types of folks that we want to pull in as well. In the last job report, there's 11.8 million job openings right now, 1.8 jobs per person. And so the market really is yours. So make sure not to be too hard on yourself. It's just some things that maybe don't necessarily match. As long as you've got the main skills, you know, reach out to that recruiter.
You guys all know what Tony was talking about with the little green or the purple headers or picture frames? Yeah, it's something that LinkedIn has added pretty recently, I want to say, where you can go onto your profile and you can select if you are in the market for a new job. And then what it does is add onto your profile picture just a little swoosh kind of around the bottom edge of it that just says open to work. So it's a call out for anyone who might be looking at your profile thinking, oh, hey, they could be open to a new opportunity. I'd love to reach out to them a little bit more. And then similarly, like he said, companies or recruiters might have a little swish on their profile picture that says we are hiring. So if you are actively looking for a new job, that might be one of the key indicators for you to go and do some research on those companies and what positions that they might have offering.
Wonderful, thank you. And you get to that by just going in and editing your photo, and then on the bottom, it'll give you some options about adding frames. Thanks for calling that out.
Yeah.
So, so with that, I see we're running short. I don't want to go over. Any other questions or comments? I know we wanted to chat just a bit, so you know who we are. But I wanted to give that last opportunity for any other questions or how can we help you? So I guess on over to you, Amy.
Okay, well, I won't go into too much detail here just since we are running close on time and I want to be able to give you guys the rest of your afternoon. But I did want to share a little bit of information about Homecare Homebase. If you haven't heard of us, that's okay. We're kind of a small company in a very niche piece of the healthcare market. So Tony, go ahead and click into the next slide and actually click once or twice more. Because this is a good visual representation of who we are. We are a healthcare company, but actually we're a healthcare technology company. At Homecare Homebase, we develop a software system that home health and hospice agencies will be able to use while they provide care to their patients. So we are not actually providing healthcare, but we are technology experts in the healthcare space. And so what that means is that we do have a lot of different software engineering opportunities and technical roles available here, but also a lot of other operational and support and customer facing roles too. So we have kind of these two different sides of the business where we are focused on the quality product that we can give to our customers, and then really the high class customer service that we can provide to them too. So we do have a lot of these openings. They are either located in the Dallas area. Some of them could potentially be remote as well, but we are located all across the country, both in employees as well as the customers that we serve. So I do encourage you to go out to Handshake, where you can find out a little bit more about us there. We are also active on LinkedIn, of course, and we have some positions posted, more information about our company, maybe some videos that you can watch and just kind of see more about us as an organization. But I do hope that each of you will connect with us directly on LinkedIn so that we can continue our conversation. Because we didn't necessarily get to share all the great things about Homecare Homebase today, but that is quite all right. I hope that we were able to share some greater tips about LinkedIn profiles for you. So do reach out to us. We are both active there, but our direct contact information is posted up here as well. So we'll look forward to reconnecting with you all soon, but we'll stick around for a couple of minutes, Tony, to see if there are any lingering questions. Does that sound okay?
Sounds good. And as Amy said, reach out and connect with us. Even if you don't find a position, we have 80 some odd positions out there. Even if not, that's okay, because we can be your gateway to other places as well.
Absolutely.
And if you all could give a reaction to our presenters today, they did a phenomenal job at going through LinkedIn in the most engaging way. And I think that I've sat through a good amount of LinkedIn presentations, and I think this one, I'm gonna give it to you. I really, really did top it. It was very, very to the point, but very student-centered. So I wanna say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And yes, we're gonna be sitting again saying, hey, to get you all to talk again. And to be honest, I'm gonna challenge all my students, go connect on LinkedIn. The reason being is that we see there was multiple different opportunities. And like Amy said, she works with a lot of new talent, a lot of fresh talent, wanting to develop those skills. So there's gonna be some skill specific roles. Maybe in the future, you want to transition to other things. So take some time, go look, throw a handshake. You have emails here. Guess what? You just built your network. So please, please leverage that. Please, please, please take some time to leverage our guest today. And I just thank you all so much. Any questions? I'm gonna ask, because I mean, y'all ask me all the time. I get asked. So any questions that really just stick out when you think about Handshake, or even a question you may have about their company? Anybody have any questions? Nope, they're just like shaking their head. They're like, we're good. They have their iPads, what do you call it, laptops open. So I think they're really excited. It was very, very, very interesting. Thank you all so much.
Our pleasure.
If there's not any questions, I do love to respect people's time and especially our speakers' time. We appreciate you all. You have their contact, you have their emails. Thank you so much for taking time. If everyone again, give a reaction. Let's just give a hand applause here in person because we really did appreciate it. It was phenomenal. And so without further ado, if you have the survey, please take the survey and the link for us. And again, Amy and Tony, thank you so much for just doing a phenomenal job and just, it was very good. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Okay.
Rest of the day.